Jambo. Woo! Jambo wana. Hey. Habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni.
Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Nero Okwa Experience. I'm your host, Emperor Nero, and today I have an incredible guest, incredible guest by the name of Oroma Cookey-Gam Itegboje. Now, Oroma is not just I don't even know how to say it. She's not just an artist, a creative, a lawyer. She's also a gifted storyteller. I think, yes, and storyteller, and I'm going storyteller. She's the creative director. Let me do the intro. She's a creative director behind This Is Us Nigeria, an amazing brand that is not just a fashion brand, an amazing brand that starts from the cotton fields of Funtua.
Lovely.
In Kano, and is out to sustain the 500-year tradition of dyeing in the Indigo pits in northern Nigeria. And she's bringing back that, but she's also creating a brand for us. And today we're going to be exploring the story of the story of Oroma, her career, her story, but also the story of This Is Us, and the mind or the brain behind the movement. Oroma, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Nero.
How have you been?
Good. I'm great.
Okay, good.
Chilled.
So, okay, that's good. And I love to see that you're wearing your pieces today.
Of course, always.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to get into it. This is going to be an exciting conversation, and feel free to ask me questions back. So basically, the first thing I want to know is, or what the people want to know is, so you studied law. Let's start from there. Mm-hmm. So you studied law. So just briefly take us through doing the normal Nigerian parent thing, studying law, and that journey of, I still want to sketch and design things, and that journey from studying law, practicing law, maybe when you came to Nigeria, and what happened there, maybe to your first brand.
Yeah, this is a very personal story, I guess.
Okay.
But I studied law, and I won't say I wanted to study law.
Okay.
I kind of did very well at the subjects that I needed to do well in. And the most professional degree that suited who I was was being a lawyer. And my mom's a lawyer. My grandfather is also a lawyer. So it made sense that I could also be a lawyer. I also think that I have some traits that are very good for being a lawyer, like in terms of the way that I think and how I reason. Yeah. I reason like a lawyer. So as I was finishing secondary school, I told my mom I wanted to study interior design.
Okay.
And the response that I got, and if you're Nigerian, you probably know about this kind of response. It's like, people don't go to school to study interior design. You have your auntie's an interior designer. If you want to study interior design, just start. Like, you don't need to go abroad and we don't need to pay all this money for you to study interior design. So yeah, I just agreed to do law. It made sense. Midway through my law degree, I sort of gave up. I sent my mom this message telling her that I've informed my guardian tutor I'm going to basically do the 3-year course instead of the 4-year course.
Yeah.
The 3-year course was also a law degree. Yeah. But the 4-year course was solicitors exempting, which means that I wouldn't have had to do law school. Yeah. And my mom showed up in school. She was panicking, blah, blah, blah. Bear in mind, the whole time I was in law school, I was also sketching. Yeah. I wanted to do an application to Central St. Martin's to study fashion. And my mom came and she kind of convinced me, spoke to my guardian's tutor, and they both convinced me to finish the 4-year track. So I finished 4-year track, and when I finished 4-year track, I just was like, there's no way I'm going back to school. This has been grueling, So after that, I applied to, sort of practice in England, and I didn't get the post-study work visa. Yeah. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go back to Nigeria. Yeah. This stupid country. I'm going back to my country, please. So went back to Nigeria, did NYSC, and then I started working in Shell as a corper. Okay. So that was my first kind of job. I had done some internships in England, of course, but that was my first job working in Shell. And funny enough, I loved that experience and I was really good at my job.
Yeah.
I was working in upstream commercial and gas. So I
Ooh.
was basically negotiating contracts and researching like the best position that Shell should be in most of these contracts. I was also supporting litigation. I hated the litigation aspect because I didn't like speaking, but I really loved upstream commercial and gas, and the team really, I feel like the team really needed me.
Yeah.
At some point, I was like preparing the presentations for the team, and I just felt needed and I felt crucial to the team. So that experience really gave me confidence. But at the end of the day, I had started also, when you love to do something, you always do it. It doesn't matter where you are. So I was sketching and drawing and then started making clothes whilst I was in Shell.
Okay.
So that's when I started my first brand. It was called Alali Boutique. And I was basically making like really chic, effortless clothes. I think I've always been about effortless clothes.
Okay.
Maybe This Is Us is not so chic now.
Yeah.
And Alali was chic,
Yeah.
but they were both like about effortless, almost clothes that can take you through your day.
Yeah.
And in the middle of Shell and Alali, I had the feeling that with the way that Alali was taken off, I had the feeling that if I decided to do it as a career or as a thing, I would be really successful.
Yeah.
Because even when I was doing Alali, it just seemed like I always had more demand than I could meet.
That you can meet.
And so that's where I hit the hitch, which was that the way I'd set up Alali was that I was going to the market, buying dead stock fabric and using the dead stock fabric. Dead stock fabric is like sample fabric. So the nicest fabrics in the market are the ones that they know a lot of. They're not made in mass quantity. They're just like leftovers that maybe like another fashion brand in Europe has used and they couldn't finish, so they sent it to Nigeria. So I was using those fabrics to make my collection then. And the problem obviously is like with fashion, once you've taken a picture of something, everybody wants that thing.
So now
so when the fabric is finished and maybe you go back to the market, they don't have pink anymore, they now have green. How are you going to start explaining to who that, okay, I don't have pink, I have green. What does the green look like? You now start taking picture of the fabric. It glitches, it's long. And even when I started Alali, I had a website. You know what I mean? So I've always been about this kind of wanting to set up a ready-to-wear brand that people could just access very simply without having to go through me.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to work. So I hit that glitch, but also I had a feeling that I needed to know a bit more about the business because the way they teach law in England, they don't teach you about business.
Yes.
So if there was one thing I was lacking when I studied law, it was business knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I felt I needed to go back and study business. And I then, sort of found a business degree, decided that, you know what, I asked my mom, I don't want to go to fashion school, but I want to go and do a master's degree in fashion business, basically. And my mom was like, she had seen everything I'd done with Alali.
Yeah.
And she said she had no option. She was just like, yeah, if you can get in, then definitely I'll pay for it. And so I applied to Star Bocconi, which is like one of the top European business schools. And I got into Star Bocconi studying fashion experience and design management, which honestly changed my understanding of fashion and made it something that was much bigger than just fashion. It's about experience, it's about design, it's about everything, it's about culture, and that really, really formed my understanding of the sort of brand that I want to build in a holistic way.
Yeah. So just that point there, that was going to be around my next question, but something else I would pick up before I get into that was when you were in, what were you sketching in law school? So what were you sketching in law school? What were you sketching when you were in, I think I know what you were sketching when you were in Nigeria, like when you were at Shell, and then what you went to build. But I'm curious in law school. I'm almost trying to get to where did it really start? Like where did you really get into that? Hey, this is what I'm doing. So what were you sketching in law school? That's my first question. And then the second one, which would be the follow-on is something happened, like reading your story, something happened when you went to this business school. And it seemed like you had you were exposed to kind of the quality of what you're trying to, an idea of what you're trying to build based on what you saw. So I almost want to say, what were you sketching? And then almost what happened at business school?
Like how did all of this morph my idea
Yeah.
of what I wanted to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so what were you
I love
sketching
that
early
question.
on?
I
and
love
then-
that question. Nobody has ever asked me this. I'll start from uni. In uni, what I was sketching was like, I was inspired by Galliano. I mean, I don't know how much you know fashion, but like, I was making things that were like I would never dream of wearing. And my main medium was mood boarding.
Oh.
So and collaging. So I would basically start with a mood board of just like things that would blow my mind away. Then I'll start to collage silhouettes that just were,
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
most avant-garde things. I was dreaming then. I was just dreaming, and I was just feeding my interest in fashion and textile. I would look at all these prints and I'll put them together in a collage in a way that made sense to me. And then when I moved to law school, I was then sketching things that were still very like eventy. So like there would be like event dresses.
Yeah.
So still expressive, very expressive, maybe not everyday clothes, because I wasn't yet thinking about making anything. I was just
Yeah.
thinking about
Just creating.
creating, exactly, in a very vague way. And then I was still thinking that, if you were doing fashion, it had to be, like super wow,
Yeah.
And then when I started working in Shell, and I was sketching, then I now started thinking about making. And it's important because when I started thinking about making, I then sort of brought down my vision to what can I actually make. And what I was making, I realized that my process of making always started from the fabric.
Yes.
So I would first go to the market, find the fabrics that I found interesting that I wanted to play with, and then come back and sketch what I wanted to make with the fabric. And I think, when I started doing Alali, it was still a mixture, like, because at the time, people in Nigeria also were not very used to buying local or indigenous fashion just for every day.
Yes.
So people were still trying to buy things for events and for more.
And weddings and birthdays.
So yeah, I was still making things that were not ready to wear. They were more like not also ashrebi, but like more up.
So it's kind of
more
almost
dressier.
every day, but dressier every day.
Dressier every day, exactly. But what I really was making as ready to wear was every day. But a lot of the things that people would then tell me to make after buying the everydays, they'll shop and then, please, I have this thing I want to go for. Can you help me make this? And oh my God, this is like someone I really, really admire. And she supported me so much. Of course, I would just make her whatever that she needed to. But I really, really didn't like doing that thing. And I always told them that, listen, guys, it gives me so much anxiety to make you event clothes.
Yeah.
So that made me feel stressed. And so when I then went to Milan to study, at the time, I already, of course, knew that the model I was using was not working in the sense that the fabric and the textile and that process just was not working. Like, I cannot deal with fabric finishing. And so before I went to Milan, I already knew that I wanted to be in control of that. But also, I felt something was wrong with what I was making in the sense that I didn't feel so connected to it. I've always been connected to cloth as a thing. Like, I just remember my mom wearing clothes and I remember the fabric. I don't even remember what the style looked like. Maybe if the style was very sort of, I would remember it. But I remember always fabric. I remember what her fabrics look like. She's a Rivers woman. So her suitcase, her trunk of fabrics. There's George, there's all sorts. There's Indian lace. There's all sorts of things in there, So I was always very, very attracted to fabric. And so I knew that I wanted the fabric to be more local, or just something that local people could connect with. Or Nigerians could connect with, I could connect with. And so when I went to Milan, I had that in mind. And when I experienced how these European brands kind of start from fabric.
Yes.
And that's how they kind of keep it very true to who they are. It starts from that craftsmanship. I then sort of put the piece together that, I want to do, my final project was, I had created this new brand. I decided my final project was on a new brand that I wanted to make, and it was called it was called Alali Oro, which means like
Alali
Oro in Italian means gold.
Yeah.
And that was like Alali gold. So at the
Yeah.
time I was thinking, I want to make fashion similar to what I was making, but made with local craftsmanship,
Yeah.
like local fabric. I was playing around with raffia
Yes.
because, raffia is a material that is found in Nigeria and in Calabar and places like that. They use raffia a lot to make bags and things. I made some trips to Calabar to go and explore raffia. I would make like raffia busts and things like that.
Yeah.
But so I was playing around. I wanted to do things that just involved craftsmanship, and I knew that. But when I finished from Milan, I don't know, for some reason, I just didn't feel ready to explore Alali Oro in that way. And I didn't feel that was what I was supposed to do, so I just paused.
Yeah, you didn't feel a connection to it.
It just felt heavy. Like it felt like something that, because the kind of clothes I was thinking about were really, really like couture things. And I just always had this vision of making fashion that is very, very sort of accessible and something that is relevant to people every day. So it felt too heavy. It felt too serious.
So that was the theme I saw. I'll come to my next one, but that was the theme I saw. Something around every day. But kind of like dressier every day. Let me just use that term, dressier every day. Like it's every day you wear it, but you still want to have some connect.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then there's obviously connecting with the material, connecting with the story. So another thing, side note, because when I was then researching for this, I had a lot of things that reminded me of my own interests / my own story. Another side note was I always thought, okay, when I find a topic I'm interested in, I deep dive in. So I deep dived at some point into cutting and stuff like that. And that's coming to my next question. But then I always thought it would be so good if someone makes a white shirt in Nigeria. Like, why has no one wear it? And I used to always love suits and shirts. I worked at a suit company in uni. Most people don't know this. That's my I was doing a ready to wear. I'm trying to remember the name now. In second year, I did for the whole year. So then I used to love everything about the material and suits and the measuring and the design and the lapels and the number of buttons, just the whole thing. That was my thing. That was my thing. It was like science. So then I also got to know about shirts.
I can tell. I mean, look at how you're
dressed. But it was what was interesting. So I had that whole period of my life, and then moved back to Nigeria and did all the work I did startup, where you're trying to just be casual, and then got into tailoring. But then it was when I was researching this that all those things came back, where I just remembered one time, like, why don't we have a shirt? Like, why don't we have a shirt? Like, why is everybody still going to TM Louis? Like, why don't we have our own shirt? And then somewhere when I was researching your story, I found out how you too, can we have an everyday shirt?
So important.
So that then brings me to the discovery, what I would call the discovery of you saying, hey, let's use an indigenous material. I think at some point you realize, we used to make cotton in Nigeria at some point, right? Okay, let's go and find Nigeria cotton.
Exactly.
So maybe if you can just take us through that, the discovery, I want to use a Nigerian material. Let's go and find Nigeria cotton, maybe if you want, Oshobo, and then how that led to.
Yeah, I always say This Is Us is a journey.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, we didn't set off wanting to create a brand. And, the last question you asked me, I told you that I just stopped, I took a pause. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So how we got to This Is Us is that during that pause, I woke up one day and I started running to the market again.
Okay.
And why was I running to the market? I decided that I wanted to make a white shirt collection.
Okay.
Because I'd spent some time. What did I do when I came back? I was working at Xenia. I'm in Xenia.
Yeah.
So this is a menswear brand, sartorial. And, Xenia is, if you know anything about Italian fashion, Xenia is at the top of Italian fashion in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of just like quality. And so I was working at Xenia and everything was very much like shirts, suits. I was working a lot with fabric. So I was really in my zone because some people think about fabric and they think about things that like lace that have texture. When I think about fabric, it can be anything.
Yeah.
So even just being able to touch shirting fabric, look at different weaves, things like that. I was doing that at Xenia and I loved it. I would help clients pick like what fabric they should use for their shirts. So I was very, very in that zone of suits and shirts and menswear. And just going to work every day, I just felt like, man, I just want to be wearing white shirts every day. And I'm wearing a white shirt today. Wow, look at me.
Yeah. And I'm wearing a white shirt too.
Are you
today.
wearing a white shirt today? All started from a white shirt. Anyway, so I just felt like I just want to be wearing white shirts every day. Like, why am I having to go into my wardrobe every day and think about what to wear? I want to wear the same thing every day, and I want to wear a white shirt.
Yeah.
And I tried to find white shirts. Of course, nobody was doing white shirts. And so I went to the market, started trying to source cotton, and it would always be this Italian cotton, this Swiss cotton, but imported cotton. I didn't have a problem with the imported cotton because it was actually very nice, I was not complaining. But I didn't want to fall into the trap of going back to the market and not finding the cotton. So the first thing I would ask them is, how many of this do you have? If I wanted more, can you give me more? No. Oh, okay, bye. So I was just working on my sampling. And then at the time, I also had some white shirt that I would then do the raffia pocket on. I would lace I was trying to put in my ideas for Alali Oro into the white shirt. So I had those shirts that I made. I think I still have 1 or 2 of them. And some were just very simple white shirts. I wanted to make 9 white shirts.
Okay.
And that was my white shirt collection. I wanted to make 9 white shirts. And then I just paused with all the design because I realized that, you know what? If I cannot find the cotton, there's no point of having any white shirts. I'm not going to start a business that I cannot sustain. Yeah. So at the time, I was dating my husband now, OC, and my business partner for This Is Us. And the thing was like always bugging me. I would go to the market. I'll ask them for Nigerian cotton. They will say it's not there. Oh, see, how is it possible? There has to be Nigerian cotton. So we started asking people, which kind? How can there be no Nigerian cotton? Then we started doing research, finding out about the cotton boom in Nigeria, all of this. Blah, blah. It's like, come on, there's Nigerian cotton. Yeah. Where is it? They must be somewhere. And, OC is a researcher. He was coming from policy. He was coming from design. So he completely understood what I was thinking and how I was thinking and what I was trying to solve for. It made sense to him. And so he joined me on this research and we started asking people. And then we spoke to our friend Nee, who we're about to launch a collaboration with in next week, on 2 weeks. And Nee told us that he was using this thing called Funtua cotton. And so we decided to take a trip to Oshobo, and that's how the rabbit hole started, just trying to find the Funtua cotton.
So what happened in Oshobo?
So in Oshobo, we got there. We actually went to his dyer. He just sent us to his dyer, Yemi, and said, contact Yemi. He's the one that does all my dyeing. He'll show you everything, and he'll show you the cotton if you need it. So we went to, I think it was Nike's organization that we went to. Yemi was working there. Looked at all the dyeing, and so we asked him, how this cotton, where can we find it? He's like, the market now. So he took us to the market. We went to the market. They brought out the fabric, and they're like, it's Funtua. And we're like, what's Funtua? They're like, Funtua, that's the name of the cotton. Yeah. Like, okay, what does it mean? That's just the name of the cotton. Like, why are you asking more questions? I said, okay, so we took the Funtua and we gave it to Yemi, and Yemi dyed it indigo. And it was beautiful, and then we used it to make this shirt. We were so proud of ourselves because I think because we weren't trying to create a brand, we were very relaxed about the research that was going into it, and we were taking our time and celebrating our wins. So we made this shirt. We're so proud of ourselves, When on my way back, I wrote in my jotter, this is Funtua, Nigerian-made cotton.
Because I did see it on some of the, I don't know if it's the latest line or the one before that, like this is Funtua or made in Nigeria, Nigerian-made cotton.
That was our first product, and we ran it for quite a bit. I think, we still have the shirt, actually. We have a new version of it. We always have a version of it. So OC took that, and he then put it in some nice typeface. Obviously, he's a graphic designer. And then we printed that on a T-shirt, and that was our, the first prototype. And then when we saw that, we saw that it was good. And we're like, okay, let's proceed and try and find where this cotton is from. Because, as you know, I'm not going to use something that I cannot continue getting.
There's the raw material.
So, I knew that I could get it from Oshobo, but I also wanted to know where Oshobo was getting it from. And what Funtua meant and everything. So from my research, I then found out that Funtua is a place in Katsina where the cotton is grown and even made. So we, just mapped out a bunch of different things that we wanted to see, geeked out on it. I think because OC is used to this kind of research. The way he structured that research was a life lesson for me. It's like now when I'm going on research trips, I just become Osione, I just start mapping out the whole thing. I like visits, schedule 8 different things. Just speak to a million people. We spoke to the president of Cotton Association of Nigeria. You know what I mean? We spoke to everybody. We went to the IAR, which is the Independent Research Institute or something like that for agriculture in Kaduna. So we planned like a proper trip and like just like trip. A field trip. Fact-finding. Exactly. Fact-finding mission. And so we did all of that, found the textile mill. We were so impressed with the textile mill. It just felt like something that had lasted for a very, very long time, and the staff just looked so happy.
Yeah, that somebody else is interested.
They just looked happy to be there. They had free lunches. Yeah. We even ate in their cafe, ate okra soup. They had free lunches. Just like the staff were just happy. It was just like there was lots of them. They were just milling around, everybody having something to do. And one thing that really, really struck us was that they looked comfortable and happy. And they were all wearing Funtua cotton. So I think that was the first time that we visualized a world in which Funtua cotton was this uniform. And that's how we started. I believe that that's where those ideas came from. I mean, we also kind of have reflected and realized that those were our first, impressions of the cloth. It was a uniform and it was good. It was comfortable. And so we started building a relationship with the textile mill, sampling different fabrics, just trying to see what they had, what the fabric could do. And at some point I realized that fabric was not going to give me the white shirt that I wanted.
That you wanted.
And that was the birth of This Is Us.
Okay. So that is... Okay, so before we get into now the birth of This Is Us, there were a lot of things you said that I picked up on, which you kind of answered my follow-ups. So I like this whole journey, just different things. I'll just go over all of them. I like the whole journey of when you're trying to build something for yourself, it's less of like I'm trying to do a business or I'm trying to make a product and I have this deadline. It's more of a fun exploration. And randomly, when you talked about going and you guys were happy that, we made something for ourselves, the random thing that came to mind from my research and writing was when Steve Jobs and Wozniak built the first PC for themselves and went to get parts. And it was like, so before it's like, can you build 300 of these and can we buy? It was like, we actually made it. Like, I think it's that magical thing of creating, of visualizing something in your head and then going through it with your hands, like going through the process and seeing it become real, seeing a thought become real. So that was one of the thoughts that came when you were saying this. And then I had always, as a side topic, thought, on coming back to the white shirt, what is this thing about uniform? Because I've always also had that thing where I want to have like a work look where I'm in the zone, I'm working. I want to have my standard day look that's kind of, and then you're identified by it. But I always knew with that theme, with a lot of stuff I saw, I think also with the capsule collection you did, uniform wear, I was always curious, like, where did that uniform thing? So how did you get to white shirt? And now how did you get to uniform? And you've said that it really got to when you got here and you experienced it. But then you experienced it and you saw them wearing it. They were happy. They were almost wearing what they were making.
Yeah, they were wearing it. That was the textile they were making.
Yes. So you saw that, you went to this trip, you learned so much, you saw the textile they were making, uniform. But then you now realize the limitation of your initial vision. That, hey, I want to make a white shirt, but this will not cut it.
Yeah.
And that was where This Is Us is born. So maybe just before my next question, before the next main question, just tell us about that. What did you do next, basically?
Yeah. So I realized when I saw the cotton, when I felt it, when I experienced it, from all of the experience that I have with clothing and fashion and even luxury fashion, because I was coming from Xenia.
Yeah.
I knew that white shirts are very much about the quality of the fabric.
Yeah.
Is it poplin? What is it? Like, how does it stand? How does it? And I just knew that the integrity of the cotton will have to be beyond excellence.
Yeah.
If it was coming from me, at least.
Yeah.
If I was going to be able to create a products with global relevance, like white shirts with global relevance that were all about it's been, a white shirt is a white shirt. I'm wearing a white shirt right now.
Yeah.
It being something that you're wearing to work every day and it's super smart and it's high quality, and the cotton just didn't cut it in that way. It wasn't cotton that was built for a white shirt.
Yeah.
And I like to work around what I have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing with This Is Us and our ethos is we use what we have. We have a mantra. That's the first line. We use what we have, And so I saw what I had and I was like, I want to make white shirts, but the white version of this fabric, I won't wear that white shirt.
Yeah.
I would wear the ivory version of it, which was the unbleached version, which we use now to make shirts. They're not white shirts. They're like ivory shirts. I knew that I would wear that, but I also knew that the market was not ready to accept ivory shirts as white shirts. And so it was like, I'm going to have to process this fabric somehow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to process it into something that makes it elevated, but something that can still make a uniform. A white shirt is a uniform.
Yeah.
I wanted something that was an everyday thing, something that was relevant to people's everyday life, that you can wear every day. And so it went back to what is that going to look like?
Yeah.
What color, and of course we had already gone to Oshobo and we'd already seen, Yemi had already given us an indigo fabric. So I knew it could be indigo, but I also was curious about what is out there.
What else is out there?
What else is out there apart from Yemi's indigo? What else can I put my hands on? Yeah, what else can I play with? What is this indigo story anyway? So I started researching around indigo. I think this is the first time I was really paying attention and researching around indigo, but also a good friend of mine, Yegwa, he had this store called Stranger, and he had lots of books, and he was really a maker and really like pushing creative culture. And so we used to go there really, really often just to chill, learn, chat, exchange knowledge, things like that. And he had some books on indigo, so I was able to geek out on indigo as a world phenomenon.
Yeah.
And then I started researching on indigo. From there, I went on the internet, blah, blah, blah. I found Kofar Mata dye pits on the third page of Google.
Yeah.
3. Meaning I read everything about Adire, indigo, blah, 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 nothing about Kofar Mata. Page 2, nothing about, I don't know what I was looking for, but I kept going to more pages. And then I saw this article about Kofar Mata dye pits, and I was like, what is this? Like, what is Kofar Mata dye pits? Kano? Does this still exist? Checked, still exists. Okay, I wonder if there are people there.
Why am I just seeing this?
Why am I just seeing this? Why is it on page 3 if it's real? Yeah. So we booked a trip to Kano. Sometimes I think about my life then and I'm like, was I rich? I don't think I was rich, but why was I just booking trips?
I think so.
What
just
was pushing me?
Something there which I saw as a theme, just to jump in there, something that I saw as a theme, and I think I mentioned this as a lesson in my last episode, is this whole thing of you have to go to know. A lot of things we're trying to explore, a lot of self-discovery, a lot of things. It's just moving, that
Travel
adventure,
see,
like get on the ship, put up the anvil, lose sight of the shore. Like that whole just moving from here. You you probably find you have a question and you probably find more questions. But the more questions are getting you closer to truth or the answer. So I think it's that whole thing where a lot of times you think you can get everything online. But just that being the person that will go,
even
that will
today,
ask.
like even with how much information is on Google and stuff, I always travel and see.
I like that statement, travel and see. Travel and see.
So then we
went. So you booked a trip to Kano.
We booked a trip to Kano, went to the dye pits. They showed us everything and we were just in awe. I would say that this is the first time that I was in awe.
Was this your first time in Kano or in the north of Nigeria?
This was my first time in Kano. It was not my first time in north of Nigeria, but it was my first time in Kano.
Okay.
I was just in awe. Because I was like, what? The practice is like a practice that someone went to the future and saw what humanity is going to need and how humanity should be, and came back and said, you know what, this is how we're going to do things. It was just so future minded. There's no wastage in the process. It's just such a community thing. It was a beautiful process again. And so we were like, you know what? If something has lasted over 500 years, it has to be good. And so we saw that it was good. And we were like, okay.
Okay, so before you tell us that it was good, you need to tell the viewers a bit more what this was. What is Kofar Mata dye?
Okay,
what did you see? What's the practice? What does it look like?
Okay. So Kofar Mata dye pits the Kofar Mata dye pits in Kano it's a community of indigo dyers that dye with natural indigo, that is the plant.
Yes.
So they take the plant, the leaves, and they ferment it in a vat in the floor. And it ferments over a couple of days. They put in ash, potash, so like natural ingredients that you can get locally. And they leave it there to ferment. And this community lives around the dye pits. So it's grandfathers, young boys, and the women, they at home, they tie the cloth.
Yeah.
The men at the pits, they dye the cloth. So it's a very like family-oriented, community-oriented like practice. Where it's just very so they leave everything in the pits, and then when the pit is ready, they're tending to it every single day. When the pit is ready, they can then dye in that pit in the floor. They're like 6 foot deep.
Concrete.
They can dye in that for as long as 2 years.
Oh wow.
So it's not like make this thing and then dye and then throw it away and then it's like
sustainable.
This is sustainable. It's regenerative. Like it stays there for. It can, if you don't dye as much, but you're taking care of your vat. It can last as long as 2 years. I mean, some people argue that it can even last as long as 5 years. Like even if a pit is dead, if it's not really dead, meaning there's still life in, because it's like it's a living organism. The dye vat is living. It's made from plants. It's using oxygen. So you can revive it even if it dies, if it's not actually dead. So essentially you're dying in it and you're dying in it until you've used it to the point that it is dead. In which case, what they do, for instance, just to show you how circular this process is, they'll take out the solution and they bottle the solution and they sell that solution. Pregnant women drink it because it helps with pain. Labor pain. And, you can imagine us hearing this story and it's just like, this is technology. This is some future technology. This is indigenous knowledge. This is indigenous technology, And so we were just really, really impressed with the process. When the thing is done, they take it out. They take out the sludge at the bottom. They burn that sludge, and then that sludge that they burn becomes the ash that they use in the new pits. So
nothing is wasted.
Nothing at all is wasted. Nothing is wasted. The only thing they have to buy again then is the indigo plants that goes back in it, and they make the solution all over again. So this is the process here. It takes the shade of indigo that I'm wearing now, it would probably take them about 4 to 5 hours to dye. So, and you can't dye too quickly in a vat. So it's such a holistic, wellness focused kind of like practice that is just like, it's the ideal, this is how life is meant to be.
It'll be fascinating. When you said that just now, the thought that crossed my mind is, it'll be fascinating how many tries they did before they discovered that process.
Exactly.
So most times when you read about previous African history, it was literally that, somebody tried this and this is how it worked, or somebody understand, this is the pattern of the weather, so we only go and hunt here, we only do this, or we only plant at this. And this was all local knowledge.
Yes.
And almost documented in their own way, documented in fabric, in pottery. So even just what you've said, it's almost, and they've been doing it for 500 years. It's almost fascinating that, wow, how many tries did you do 100 times, 1,000? Like, how did you get this process?
And you know what I really would love to rewind time to see is not even, it's the fact that, indigo is something that has traveled. So from history, it either started in like India or Persia, where did it start from? And then there's indigo in Japan, there's indigo in
Africa,
in
where
Africa
everybody started.
or in Morocco, like where exactly? And so that's the question. No one knows where it actually started from. No one even knows how it got to Kano, because it must have traveled somehow. But even though it traveled, it's like the fact that nothing in that process is an external input means that it's a local, like it's indigenous.
Yeah.
They get ash and they get potash. If you know how like they do indigo vats in Japan, they use their own local materials as well. Everywhere
everybody
where indigo is
everybody,
practiced, indigo dyeing
localize
is it's localized. Like you're using your own. You basically need a mordant, and you need, there's 2 ingredients that you need, and you have to find your own version of that. You know, some people use like fermented fruits. So it's very, very fascinating. I would love to know how it even got there, how many times, how they even got this formula of ash and potash, because if you travel to southwest is different, and if you travel to the southeast, the process in the southeast is completely different. They just use the ash from one tree and the indigo leaves, full stop, nothing else. They don't even mix it in water. They just put it in a calabash and they ferment it. And so it's just something that is intriguing. And then there's also the question of how the indigo seeds got to Kano. Like, what came first?
So when you're saying
the dyeing or
the
farming?
the thing that I think is both, but the thing that from some other stuff I was researching and writing, I've written in the past, the thing that just comes to mind, and it was something I'm working on now, is most times we don't know enough of the trans-Saharan trade.
Exactly.
And when I first researched this, there was a lot of trade going all the way from, how do I put it, Mali, all the way to Kano, all the way to Egypt. So Kano was, for 1,000 years, Kano was like a waypoint. So it's in those places you have a big trading city, Kano. People will exchange, I have this, I'm bringing grain, you're bringing gold from Mali, Ghana, I have textile that's coming mainly from Egypt. And all those things that came, Egypt was a huge waypoint. And all those things came from the Silk Road. So China, Persia, everyone had that, kept that road.
So you can imagine that Silk Road ends up in Kano, and they see the cloth and it's like, what is this? Let's make our own.
Because even the Tuareg people, I think in Mauritania, coming from
Morocco,
that, they all wore the same thing. And also because it was breathable for the desert weather.
So just fun fact is that in Kano, there's a village called Dawakin Kudu village. And that village is actually responsible for the cloth that all the blue men of the Sahara wear. That's actually the point of trade of indigo in Kano. It's not Kofar Mata dye pits, actually. It's the village of Dawakin Kudu. That's where they make the cloth,
for the blue men.
For the blue men, exactly. And that's the cloth. That's the original cloth that the blue men in the Arabic blue men are wearing. It's coming from Kano. So it's like, this is deep history.
Okay, so I have 3 big theme stories, but I will go through them. One of them was, when I researched This Is Us, it almost felt like a startup. And there was a huge research aspect of it and experimentation aspect of it. So one of the things I learned about was you introducing cassava paste into the dye process, and how you wanted to keep it natural. You didn't want to use paraffin wax, which was being used, and things that will kill the dye. So maybe just say something around that innovation or experimentation.
I mean, I would say that it's not even an innovation per se. It is an innovation because when you go to a place and you introduce something new to what they're doing, to help them do it better or move their craft or move the thing forward, it is an innovation. But I've basically just transposed knowledge from somewhere else and taken it to Kano, because in the southwest there's adire eleko, and adire eleko is actually made with cassava paste. It's adire made with cassava paste. And so what happened was we started wanting to do some different designs to what they were used to doing, and then so we introduced the paraffin wax. And so when we did that, we found out like 3 months after we used some vats that the vats had died. And I don't know how I found out. I think I was just chatting to Haruna, who was my dye guy, or is my dye guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, because we have to make another VAT because the VAT died. And I'm
Ooh.
like, what?
Why did he die?
We
It was meant to
killed
last-
a VAT?
Yeah.
No. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go counter to
Counter
what you
to
guys
the-
have been building there for centuries.
Yeah.
We need to fix that.
Yeah.
So we stopped using paraffin wax for a very, very long time, but we really wanted to make more definitive types of designs where we can really design exactly what we're trying to put on the cloth.
So it's almost like you were trying to be more flexible or be more creative, but don't then still defeat the purpose of being sustainable.
Exactly.
So that kind of two things.
We had to keep that value and that, we had to respect it.
Okay.
So that's
Now
how we got
I have a
Cassava.
big question, and this one is this was a question from your friend and brother-in-law Tolu,
Oh, wow.
and he said he said that everything you do is guided by a worldview, and I should really ask you about this.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So, yeah, I should really ask you about this. Your particular worldview, and. Okay, before I say the second part of what, because I asked, okay, what do you think the worldview is? I'll let you first say it and then I'll finish the question.
I don't know the worldview.
Okay, so basically, this is what he says. So everything you do seems to be guided by a worldview, which is what has kind of kept you going for a while. And then he says you believe that all good things come from Africa and we have everything we need to be great. And that everything we need to be great we already have here. But he also said something, and he also said something about faith, because I know you have your 6 Fs that I think that as Christians we're co-creators with God, and then when we create something like This Is Us, you're almost bringing a vision of heaven to earth. So maybe talk to me about that, about really kind of like what is the worldview, or kind of, and maybe is faith part of that, but maybe how are you seeing the world? Like what glasses are you using to look at the world, and how has that kind of guided all these explorations we've talked about?
Wow. Tolu.
Yeah, went out and
Okay, I mean, so I think in terms of faith, of course I'm Christian, and something that I know is that God is the biggest creative.
Yeah.
He's the best and most wonderful designer. It's like when I look at how the world is designed, we haven't even scratched the surface of it. Like, and everything that he designs is done in this kind of perfect circular way.
Yes.
Where he doesn't have to come in and be prodding anything.
Yes.
It's circular. It's so perfect, And I think that as creators, I think we're all creators and we're all designers and we're all artists, I think that we're to kind of take from that way of creating, in the way that we create, which is why this whole sustainability movement, for me, it seems like something that we are just catching up to and figuring out a word to, kind of label it on. So we've moved from sustainability now to regenerative. And if you look at all these terms, it's all describing how God creates.
Yeah.
It's regenerative, it's circular.
Yeah.
And so I do think that, like, when I'm at peace with the way that I'm making things or creating things, because to me it seems like something that is in tandem with, or is a pilot or small model version of how God creates, in the way that, like, this whole process is very, very circular, but also thinking about local, it's like the people around you first, instead of thinking about, like, if I can make everyone, yes, if I can think about my community first, it's like by creating this textile locally, everyone in the community is involved and is making some kind of economic benefit or getting some kind of economic benefit.
Yeah. From the farmers all the way to the dads,
you know?
everybody.
So it's like, if I can impact locally first and think about the people around me first, then I also feel like that seems like a more natural way of creating as well. So I think in terms of faith, I definitely always seek or look out to create like God.
Yes, yes,
And I
yes.
don't know if you've been hearing, like, every time I say we saw it and it was good. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I saw it, it was good. It's like, this is gonna be it because
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like good in the sense that, like, it is good. You know, we
Yeah,
all know as
praiseworthy.
humans what's good. Yes, praiseworthy, exactly. So I like to, do things like that. But also, what did he say about everything? Yes, we do have everything that we need in Africa.
Yeah,
We do. We
yeah.
do.
And I
We
think this
have
is
all
the
the
side
food.
of
We have
our
all the
own, the
everything.
conversation we had when we met about Africa, and it's like, what's the disconnect? Like, if you have everything, if you have the sauce, like, what do you really need from elsewhere?
Yes.
Which kind of ties in nicely with what we're saying about this whole thing of finding cotton and or finding material that's for us to build our own white shirt. Okay. Yeah, that was a good answer for Worldview. Now,
you.
another big one that I was asked about, Kiki Loma asked this one, and it was basically it's basically about balance. There's two versions of this. I'll just combine them to one because of time. So one is that you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur. So there's that side, like how you balance, and a few other people have asked this, that how do you balance all the things you're doing? That you're doing a lot of things and creative things, and you seem to balance it so well. How do you balance it? And then there's a second aspect of it, which your friend asked, which is basically your co-founder or partner in This Is Us is your husband. How do you balance that? How do you balance professional relationship, and how do you balance the home? Or how do you balance that? Is there a switch off time? Like, yeah.
Oh gosh, no, there's no switch off time. I wish there was. I'm always trying to make a switch off time, but I don't have a switch off time. In terms of balance, I think that what I'm doing would have been really, really hard if I wasn't who I am. I do believe in like star signs in a way, in the sense that I'm a Libra, and I know that as a Libra, I am very balanced. And I know that Libras are balanced people. It means that the way that I'm set up, or the way that I am in every single thing I'm doing, I'm always trying to achieve balance. That's the first thing that I'm trying to achieve. I'm always trying to do things in moderation. I'm always trying to not do too much of something. Some people are the opposite. Some people are extremes, but I'm always seeking balance in everything I'm doing. And I think even just with building This Is Us, it just fits into my life of just trying to seek balance always. And I found that it keeps me balanced. I know it keeps me sane. Balance keeps me sane. It's my way of, once something is pushing me over, even like if it's family that's taking too much of my time, it's not healthy. I'm sorry. There's nothing that is healthy when it's on any extreme. I'm always trying to balance.
So I think this is something I noticed during this research process and preparing for this is, yes, you're balancing all the things, but I think you've identified your calling through your worldview. And it's like, this is what I'm meant to do. From everything, from law to doing the first brand, this is even this whole storytelling, this is the journey, travel to, you've identified the thing you want to do. So one, it almost doesn't feel like work. And you have now been lucky or opportune to do it, to have the best partner you can have, who is actually your partner, your husband, and then is also somebody artistic who is so it's like a perfect, so that's why almost there's no off time, because you're both thinking, coming at it from different creative, but can we just do this, can we do this, can we open the shop? So that seems to it. So it's now that you know clearly what you want and what you're trying to get, it's now amongst all those things you're trying to find balance, so that you give everything its appointed time. You give everything its appointed time. Okay. I would maybe, before I conclude, I want to know if you have any questions for me, or any questions or anything else you thought.
Wow. Oh, so many. But where do I even start from? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious about. This is a question for you about our interview and about me, but you just mentioned about, you found your calling. And when you say that, and when people say that, I really don't understand what they're saying, because I don't know what my calling is. So this is not a question for you about you, but it's a question about the way you observe things. I've realized that you have a very sort of broad, high level way of looking at things, history, culture. You have a way of just putting pieces together, and it's very admirable. But what do you mean by I found my calling? What is the calling?
I think it's okay. Sometimes when we say calling, we want to have a perfect answer, and this is the thing, and now I'll do the thing. I think again you have to go to know, and the more you go, kind of like the faith thing, the more it's on the like peeling an onion, the more it's unearthed to you. You learn more. We say based on what we see. So the more you go, the more you see more. But I think it's more of that thing where you discover something and it's like an internal map that, oh, this feels good, or I feel like there's a story, or let me go here. It's just like a map, like a homing beacon. It's like a compass that is saying, I don't want to do this. There's just something here. I did this a lot thing, but I think I want to do this. Like sometimes you may not know exactly what you want to do, but by trying different things, you know what you don't want to do. And then you start asking questions, and eventually what's inside you connects with something around you, and then you just keep chasing that hole, and you get more clarity. And then the more you do things, speak to people, it's like, I don't want to do this, but I want to do this. So most times people say calling, and it's like, this is the definite thing I found, and I'm going to do it now. I'm going to go to Mars, like Elon Musk. But I think it's more of just following your inner voice, or your just the inner voice, like inner homing beacon or compass. And then as you engage with the world, you engage with people, God shows you where you should go, and you go to other places like, no, I don't want to do this. This is not me. Or even like what you said about closing the previous brand and this. So I think that is it. It's like going on your own hero's journey. And the hero's journey, at the ending, you end up as the hero, but you go through too many challenges. You meet the how did he say it? You meet the mentor, you meet the opposition. But at the ending, you almost get to a bigger awareness of your truest self. And that doesn't stop and say, oh, I found my truest self. It's an ongoing thing.
Journey,
but now you have more clarity than 10 years ago when you started This Is Us. So on that wonderful note, Oroma, thank you so much for joining the Nero Okwa experience. This has been an incredible experience for me. Everyone, please follow Oroma, follow This Is Us Nigeria, support the movement, share This Is Us NG. This Is Us NG. The one thing I didn't get to ask you, but I'm going to leave it open, is what the us means, because I know a few people have asked you this, and who the us symbolizes. So
yeah, that's a big question.
Yes. So I'm going to leave that as a cliffhanger.
I don't think we're ever going to
everyone,
find out.
Watch this episode. Follow Oroma on social media. Follow This Is Us NG, and keep going, keep creating, keep aspiring, and the best is yet to come.
Yay! Thank you.
Oh, I feel so good just doing that.
Jambo, jambo bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana.